Hi guys, let me show you the input action, how to use it and why. It can be really helpful to solve different scenarios and obstacles and so on. So let's get started. What I want to do here is I want to tell Automatio to come on this website, search for some term, and then extract the data and pagine through it. Okay, so let's do it. So we have this input action, and once we activate it, we're gonna be in the selection mode, and I'm gonna select this input field over here. So once the input field is selected, I have ability to input some value or data. So for example, let's say WordPress. We wanna search for the WordPress over here. So if I click this arrow, execute action button, it's gonna execute and input this value or data into this field. So sometimes the input fields like search bars doesn't have the search button, search now button, and sometimes we need to proceed with enter. So Automatic can do that as well. You can just use this sub option called enter key. So it's gonna proceed with enter once it input the data. So let's continue. Basically, so we're inputting this data, and I'm gonna now execute, and gonna execute with enter, and gonna refresh the page and search this. As you can see, we're now searching for the WordPress. So now we wanna extract this data. All right, it's a little bit delay um, uh, because the web page is a bit slow. So now we want to extract this data over here, and very simply just select the extract action, select some data. Boom. That's also, for example, we call this title. Uh, we can extract more data, for example, date if you want, this kind of date, and both. It's enough. But, all right, let's just clone this and have the URL. So this will be the URL. So we have some nice data which we can work with, and we can use pagination in combination with input action and with extract action. So I'm gonna say, okay, go to the click on the next page. I'm gonna create this pagination loop over here by drag and dropping, and gonna say, hey, go on 3 pages out there and collect the data from it. So yeah, so basically that's it for the standard the input action. So let me create and run this instance and see how it's gonna go. So here's the instance we have, and it should collect the data for the WordPress. The title, it should all the WordPress. As you can see, it have WordPress, 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 WordPress. It means it's searched out there. So if I go to the logs, we can see it's navigating, and now it says input, inputting the input one. That's the default name of the input action. We can rename this, and now it's extracting, and now as you can see, it's paginating, extracting, and so on. So very simple, very cool. You can build a bot which will basically search, input some data into the field, search it, extract it, and then paginate it. It's really simple to create that, right? So there's a one more option under the input action, really powerful, and it's called a dynamic input. It's very similar to the dynamic linking, as you remember, on which we use it on the start action. We have a static and dynamic where you can pull this data from the instance and list, and it's the same thing with a dynamic input. You can dynamically input some data into this field, and for each of these row of data, it's going to perform the action. For example, imagine that you have a list of like some tags, and let's say sidebar tags. I have this some list, and what it will do, it will actually input some data. Just like for demonstration purpose, I just gonna disable enter key so it doesn't actually search. So as you can see, when I proceed here, click, it's gonna input this data visualization, and then when I proceed once again, it's gonna import another row of data article. But for each of these, it's gonna perform these actions below, like extract and then paginate. And when it's finished with all of these below, it's gonna go back and continue with another row of dynamic input data. Very, very powerful. Imagine that you have a list of 100 keywords which you want to search, and for each of that keyword that you want to perform the extract action and paginate action and whatever else. Let me show you an example as well how you can use the input action, and not just to extract the data, but actually to input data and do some very useful and in this case fun stuff. So this is a vanilla, this is my agency, and let's open Automatio and tell that, hey Automatio, go to vanilla, click on this contact us button, fill the form, and repeat this like many times and send me the emails. So let's see how we're gonna do this. So basically what I'm gonna do is creating first of all, I like always to start with a screenshot, so we can see that Automate is actually come to this page. So this is a like good practice to start with a screenshot, so you can be sure that when you watch that Automate is actually on the page you want without any obstacles, without something showing up unexpectedly. So we have the screenshot, and now I'm gonna tell Automate, all right, Automate, click on this contact us button. So I can just rename it CTA button. So I'm gonna execute this. Let's see. Boom. We are at the bottom page where is the form. So I'm gonna just clone this screenshot. So I wanna take a screenshot after the CTA button happened. So let's now use this input action to fill this data or forms actually. So input action for this, input action for email, input action for message, and input action for the budget. I'm going to create one click action for this service over here. So it can say app development, and I can drag and drop between, so it can be in the order. So it's filling this, and then it's clicking the service, and then filling this and this. And for the end, we have this click over here on the send button. So how this is going to work? Let's see. I can rename this and say, okay, this is a name, this is a email, this is kind of service click or category for the service. This is a message input. This is the budget field and send button. Right. So what we need to do now is to select the dynamic source for this input action, or actually dynamic input action. So we're not gonna have a static one-time data. Hey, this my name is Stefan and this is mail and and that's all. We're gonna dynamically say, hey, fill this form like 50 times, and with all different data which we already have prepared. So for example, I'm gonna use dynamic input action, and from the source I'm gonna select the list. So as you can see, once again, you can select either the instance, either the list, or the Google Sheet. In the previous video, I already explained what is the list, so you should understand this concept. So the lists are just custom lists which you build, and from the list I'm gonna select one of the lists which I have called fake clients, and these fake clients have this data point like first name, and yeah, in this field it's gonna fill the first name. So let's go to the another field, email, and again dynamic input, and now I'm just gonna select the email. The third dynamic input will be the project details or the message, and the budget. Dynamic input, budget. So now Automatic will dynamically input for each row or fake row of this. Let me show you over here. Let me go back to the list very quickly. So this is the list where we are getting this dynamically data, and for each of it, it's gonna say for the Carol, it's gonna use this email. For project details, it's gonna use this, and for budget this, and then gonna click the send button. And after it's finished all this, you're gonna repeat the process and do this again. And in order to finalize this, because when we click the send button over here, what's going to happen? The form will disappear and we're going to get a message, thank you for sending. So we need to make this form reappear again so we can input. So what we're going to do is just simply add this refresh, uh, actually refresh page toolbox action, and it's going to refresh this page, and then it's going to again input this and continue like that over and over again. I'm going to add a few more screenshots, like very quickly, just cloning this screenshot. And where I'm going to put this screenshot is after it fill all of this data in the form, so we can watch, and one more screenshot just after you clicked this send button, so we can see that it's actually sent over here. So I did a little bit faster, and while explaining, hopefully I didn't miss something. uh, let's just run this and see how it's going to perform. If I missed something, I'm going to go back and correct. This is the power of Tomatio, where you can always go back and edit the instance and update the instance, even if you close this flow. So let's see. Let's create and run. All right. Now let's go to the dashboard. Here we have our newest instance created, and if we go to logs, we can already see it's navigating, waiting, and now it's going to take the screenshot. So let's watch. So this is a screenshot where Automatio landing on the page, and this is the screenshot when he clicked the contact us button, and now we are on this form. Now Automatio is filling this data. As you can see, the Carol, some email, click it on this, and bam, email sent. Now he's going to refresh the page and do the same thing again. Now it's some Fletcher, some random email, some random text, and do. Now he's sending forms, filling the forms and sending these emails, actually, forms for me. Really powerful. I mean, this is just a random example. You can actually fill the forms for some very useful purposes you have to automate. So yeah, this is how Automatio works now, and you're gonna do this for all of the this data we have from the list I just showed you before. So very powerful, very exciting. As you can see over here, once again, this is the flow in just under a few minutes. I could build this much faster if I didn't explain. You can create a kind of complex scenario bot which can dynamically input and click over there and do stuff for you, like really powerful. We now even use this refresh page toolbox, which is also really useful in some situations. So let me pause the video for now and go to my email to check what Automatio sent me. All right, so this is one of the emails which Automatio sent me. I just received it 0 minutes ago. So as you can see, the name is some WAPI, some random email. This is not real email. This is random generated emails with the domain names and message and some solid budget for this project. So yeah, this is actually the power of Automatio and how you can automate a lot of different scenario stuff. And this is actually the power of input action and dynamic input, which is even more important to understand, that you can dynamically input the data into the forms, search bars, either it's a login form, registration form, or even text editors and so on. So yeah, this is Automatio, and hope you had a fun watching this video. All the best.